how to make Arabic calligraphy even if you don't know anything at all about art. And to do that, I'm going to use a small piece of canvas board. You can use any that you have size available for. I usually use a small one. I'm going to be using a trace of a verse that I picked off of Google, some graphite sheets. These are basically tracing paper that will make you cheat and get your artwork done without having to master a very difficult art on your own. I'm going to take some golden color, get it on my brush, and smear it all over. Now, after I have done this on my palette paper, I can even go directly. If you don't have palette paper and you want to check the color, just use a plain white sheet of printer paper. Those work just as good. Colors are expensive, so close them up when you're done. You can use any kind of brush. If you use a bigger brush, it will be a bit faster. Brushes tend to leave streaks like the ones that you're seeing. Generally, I found that once nobody really tends to notice them unless they're painters themselves. The artist is usually the worst critic of the painting, in my experience. When you do this, put your graphite sheet on the bottom on your canvas like this. Tape it down so it doesn't move. I think this is good here. You could probably find a way to be more precise. Leave it there. And now put some tape on the edges here so it doesn't move, because if it moves, then you might be in a bit of trouble. I'm actually going to go ahead now and trace this out with a pink pencil. Using a pink pencil will help me make sure that I have really covered all the areas. It's easier to see against the dark. And it also forces you to apply enough pressure so that the trace actually works. Because if you do it too light, the trace will not work. Now make sure your hand is not pressing too hard into the piece of paper, because if you do that, you are going to end up in a fair bit of trouble, because you're going to have to remove that stain. Now for the big reveal. Wonderful. So I can see the thing has transferred almost completely perfectly. There's just some stuff here that is a bit missing that I'm just gonna fill with my pencil, because this is where actually knowing the language is really helpful. Using gilding glue for this, which is a very special glue that's used whenever you do gold leaf work. Now, I'm not doing gold leaf right today. I'm using imitation gold leaf, which is a fair bit cheaper. I mean, almost anything is cheaper than gold, right? But this glue actually works. I used a cheap brush that I don't mind if it gets destroyed for this, because your brush will get destroyed if you use glue with it. So I never ever use my nice expensive brushes. This is a very cheap brush that I can really not use for any other kind of serious art that I'm using for this. And now dunk it and fill it. So I'm actually looking at this, that a lot of the gilding glue is actually has gotten a bit thick. So I'm just going to go ahead and spread it out. And you don't want it to dry for so long that it becomes unable to adhere to the other side. You just want it enough so that it's attached to the bottom. Now for the fun part, I have these beautiful metallics, metallic paper. And the way you do this is actually a lot of fun. You lift them from one side. Let me actually show it to you. Ah, there we go. Okay. You lift them and you press it in, remove. It's not going to be perfect. I know this. Next up, use a brush that you do not use for painting. I have this makeup brush. Actually, I do use it for painting sometimes, but not all the time. And just do this with it. Ah, beautiful. Yeah, I can beginning to see something. This part is actually quite therapeutic in a way. And this is why you use the glue, because the glue will hold on. Oh my God, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It is so beautiful. Okay, now there will always be a few little accidents like that. Okay. Let it. It's not gonna be perfect. Who wants perfect? I don't want perfect. To make last minute changes and clean cuts. Now, after all of that effort, it is finally done. Now, if you liked that, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next week.